Namaste students. So in the last class we were studying about evidences supporting evolution. We started studying about the evidences from the field of paleontology, paleontological studies. Then we also studied about evidences pouring in from the comparative morphology and anatomical studies. So I continue, few more evidences we have to study. And the next evidence that we are going to study is biochemical evidence. Biochemical, third one is biochemical. If you look around, you will find that diverse types of living organisms are there. But if you look at, you can see that in all of these organisms, you find similar type of proteins. And these, you know that proteins are formed by or determined by genes, isn't it? So if they are showing the same type of proteins, that means that they have similar type of genes and they show similar type of metabolic reactions. So what does that indicate? It indicates that they have a common ancestor. So it serves as another evidence supporting evolution. So diverse organisms have similar proteins, and these are determined by similar genes. So it indicates that all this indicating common ancestry, Common ancestry means they have evolved from the same ancestor, so that it serves as a very good evidence of evolution. So that's a third evidence of evolution. Evidences means those that support the fact that evolution has taken place. Now, the next evidence that we are going to study is the evidences from controlled breeding experiments conducted by human beings. Evidences from controlled breeding experiments. Evidences from controlled breeding. So who is doing this controlled breeding? Man. Man is doing this controlled breeding. Ever since civilization started, man understood that he can use many plants and animals for various purposes. Plants he can use for agriculture, horticulture, floriculture, etc. And animals he can use for various aspects like sport, security, etc. So what he did, he started selecting superior plants, superior varieties of plants, superior quality animals, and he started controlling their breeding. Okay, he did careful control hybridization and careful control breeding process. And by doing so, he developed hybrids. And these hybrids, okay, it led to the development of new species. And the best example is if you look at in dogs, cow and all, you will find new varieties were created because of the controlled breeding experiments in plants and animals conducted by human beings. Okay, so that is it. So evidences from controlled breeding. So man started doing controlled breeding in plants and animals. Man started doing controlled breeding, careful control hybridization, careful control breeding for various purposes, plants for various purposes like agriculture, horticulture to produce better crops, for vegetables, floriculture for producing better flowering plants, and animals for sport, security, etc. And he developed, and he could develop, by doing so, developed better species and varieties. So you can see that, and the best example is in dog. So some of the dogs, you can see that if you look at the ancestor from which it has developed, it looks so different. So that means that because of his man controlled breeding, what has happened is that they gradually evolved and became new species. So it served as another very good evidence of evolution. So this serves as the fourth evidences of evolution. Now, if man could do like this, nature definitely could do this, isn't it? Natural selection. So we are going to study the next evidence, the last evidence that you have to study, and that is evidences from natural selection. Evidence from natural selection it is. Nature selection. If man could do by careful control hybridization and controlled breeding programs, he could develop new species of plants and animals, nature also can definitely do that. And the best example to understand these evidences from natural selection is the evolution of a particular species of insect which is called as biston. Biston, genus name. Two species of biston are there, Biston betullaria and Biston carbonaria, and it comes from England. Best example comes from England. And it is the studies conducted on biston. Insect it is. There are two species of biston. Two species of biston is there. Biston betullaria, and Biston carbonaria. Biston betullaria is white in color. It is white. The wings are white. It looks white. Okay? Whereas Biston carbonaria, so it's blackish in color. Black. When a study was conducted in England, these insects was found. When a study was conducted in England regarding these two species of Biston, it was found, some very interesting aspect was found. It was found that in 1850, before industrialization, when a study was conducted, it was found that out of these, Biston betullaria was more in number. Okay? Biston betullaria was more. Later, as industrialization took place in England, industrialization means the industry, the formation of industries here and there in England, industries were formed. So after industrialization, in 1920, after industrialization, what happened? When a study was conducted, it was found that Biston carbonaria was more. This was the result of the study conducted. Now, how can you explain and how will it serve as evidence of evolution? Let us see. Good now. Before industrialization, this is more. After industrialization, this is more. Now, you can see that this biston, this insect, have a habit of, resting against the tree trunk. Tree trunk. The tree trunks were like this. Itara untu. Illi baritane. The tree trunk were like this, and the insect is having a habit of resting like this on the tree trunk. Okay. So, you can see that before industrialization, tree trunk nodidre before industrialization, okay? Before industrialization. If you see the tree trunk was, there was no pollution irlilla. So then the tree trunk were white in color because on the tree trunk there were lichens were there. We have studied in the first year in the chapter, second chapter, Biological Evolution about lichen. It's a symbiotic association between algae and fungi. And its significance also we studied there. The significance is that lichens are very good indicators of pollution. Indicators of pollution meaning if the condition is polluted, you will not see them. If it is very clean, you will see that. Especially of industrial pollution. It's a very good indicator of industrial pollution. So in the 1850s, when there was no industrialization, the tree trunk was covered by white colored lichen they were. And when the insects, both these, when they came and rested on the tree trunk, okay, when they rested on the tree trunk, this insect, the black colored and the white colored one, white colored insect, both were, so this is Carbonaria, black, and this is white, Biston Carbonaria. So when both of them came and rested against the tree trunk, this one was camouflaged, meaning it was very much similar to that of the background. So it cannot be seen, whereas this is black. So when the background is white, it can be easily seen. So you can see that the predators of this insects are birds. When the insect come and rest on the tree trunk, the birds will come and they will collect it and devour. So before industrialization, when the tree trunk was white because of lichen, and when black and white colored insects, Biston species was resting, the birds could not identify white ones because they were camouflaged, okay, because their color was exactly same as that of the background, whereas the black one could be easily seen by the birds, and the birds devoured it. So that is why their number was less, whereas their number was more before industrialization. White more. But as industrialization took place slowly in England, industries started cropping up here and there. So what happened, the tree trunk after industrialization. After industrialization, from the industries, from the chimneys of the industries, the smoke and dust, okay, all these were coming out. And what happened? It came and the smoke and dust got deposited. Smoke and dust and soot and all came and got deposited, okay? They got deposited. So what happened? Lichen which was there, lichen died. lichens died. So because of the deposition of the smoke and soot, the tree trunk became black. The tree trunk became black. So now again the biston, Betullaria and Carbonaria was coming and resting like this. So under this condition, if you look at the white one could be easily seen. So under this condition, when the background became, the tree trunk became black in color, this black one got a distinct advantage. This was camouflaged. This was camouflaged, okay, camouflage, and whereas the white one could be easily seen by the birds. So what happened? They came and they started devouring the white one. So what happened? The white ones became less and black one increased in number. So this is how you explain that. Before industrialization, why white ones were more, and after industrialization, why black ones were more. Okay. So you can see that in this condition, nature felt that, before industrialization, nature felt that white one had a distinct advantage of surviving under that condition. Okay. So they selected the white ones. Whereas after industrialization, when the tree trunk became black because of the deposition, especially of the smoke and soot and the lichen died, the black one had a distinct advantage because their color was exactly like that of the color of the tree trunk. Okay? So what happened? They got camouflaged. So the nature felt that under this condition, black one had a distinct advantage. So it started favoring this. So this serves as natural selection in action. So it serves as a very good evidence. So what happened? Gradually the white one evolved and became the black one. So it is another evidence of evolution. So from this we can conclude that in a population there will be, there will be variation. Variations will be there, variations. And what you have to understand, one very important aspect is that no variant is completely wiped out. Very important. No variant is completely wiped out. Is completely wiped out. Very important. So here also, even though you see more of white one, black one was also there. That variant is not completely wiped out. Here also, even though you see black ones are more in number, white ones are also there. So no variant is completely wiped out. So this is the example of natural selection in action. Still another example of natural selection in action is when you use excessive pesticides or herbicides. Another example of evidence from natural selection. It comes from the excessive use of, another example. Another example is when you use pesticides or herbicides. What are these, children? Herbicides or pesticides. Sides means chemicals that kill the pests, the chemicals that kill the herbs. Okay? When you use excessive pesticide, suppose you use in a population of pests, okay? Population of pests are there and you add this pesticide. Okay? So you can see that initially there will be drastic decrease in the pests, okay? But after some time you can see that again there is an increase in the pests. What has happened here? You can see that when you added pesticides at that time, in this population there were two variants, and the two variants are sensitive ones and resistant ones. resistant ones. So when you added this, what happened is that sensitive ones, they were killed. They were sensitive to the pesticide, they were destroyed, but resistant ones had a distinct advantage. So nature started selecting under that condition. Whatever condition is prevailing, whichever variant, nature feels that is suitable for that condition, they will be selected and they will survive and they will go on multiplying and producing lots of individuals, leading to the increase in their population. So this is what happened here. Same thing will happen when you add herbicides in a population of, if you add in a population of herbs, okay? When you add this, here also there will be the sensitive ones and the resistant ones, sensitive and resistant ones. So when you add this, the sensitive ones will be killed, and gradually you can see that the resistant ones will be selected by nature. Resistant one will have a distinct advantage, better advantage in that conditions prevailing where you have added the insecticide or where you have added the pesticide or herbicide. So the resistant ones will be selected by nature. So this is another example. These two are other example. One more example that is given for you to study is when you use, same thing happens in the case of eukaryotic organisms when you use antibiotics against eukaryotic organisms. So another one is antibiotics if used against eukaryotic organisms. Same thing happens. There also there will be sensitive and resistant ones. Okay, antibiotics, these are some substances produced by one organism that have the ability to destroy or retard the growth of another organism. Okay. So when that is added, you can see that in the population of the eukaryotic organism against which it is used, there will be sensitive ones and resistant ones. Sensitive ones will be killed and the resistant ones will increase. So this is what happens. Okay. When DDT was used against in the mosquitoes, when there was lot of cases of malaria, it was found that drastically malaria case decreased. But later on you can see that again there was an increase. So this, it can be explained with this aspect. When DDT was added, what happened is that sensitive ones which were more in number under that condition, they became, or they were killed, okay? But there were resistant ones also, okay? And so what happened is that finally the resistant ones were selected by nature, they started multiplying, increasing number. So no variant in each of these population, if you look at, there were variants, sensitive, resistant, here also like that. No variant is wiped out. In whatever condition it is there, the nature will select those variant which nature feels that is suitable for surviving in that condition. Okay? So this is about the natural selection serving as very good evidence of evolution. Now we can conclude, from this we can conclude that evolution is not a directed process. Nobody directs evolution. Nobody decides that evolution should take place like this. It's not a directed process, but it is a stochastic process that will depend upon the chance mutation and changes that takes place in nature. So we come to the conclusion. So from the study of all these, we come to the conclusion that evolution is not a directed process. It's not a directed process, but it is a stochastic. Stochastic meaning any process which is having random probability. Okay? It is a stochastic process based on, so this is the conclusion we come from the study of this, okay, based on chance events in nature, based on chance events in nature and chance mutation in organisms. This is a conclusion about evolution. Okay? Now, there is one more evidence that we can study, and that evidence is adaptive radiation. I am going to talk about adaptive radiation. Evolution is not a directed process, it is a stochastic process based on chance events in nature and chance mutation in organism. Now, I am going to talk about another evidence, and the next evidence is adaptive radiation. This actually is a biogeographical evidence, evidence. Adaptive radiation. How can you define what is meant by adaptive radiation? You can define it as the process of, you consider one isolated geographical area, okay? The process of development of new species from a point in this geographical area, from a point, the development of many different species and them radiating to different geographical areas. So that is what is called as adaptive radiation. Based on the conditions that is prevailing from a single point in a geographical area, new species arising and radiating to different geographical area. So definition is very important. It is the process of origin of many species from a point in a geographical area and its radiation to different geographical area. So from this, in one region, from a point radiating and moving to, and moving, that would be better, moving to different geographical area. So this goes the definition of adaptive radiation. And what is it? It is a biogeographical evidence of evolution. Now we have to know what are the examples of adaptive radiation. Examples. So the first examples is Darwin's finches. Charles Darwin, we know that, we studied that Charles Darwin got a chance to go around the world in a ship which is named HMS Beagle. And when he went, he observed many things. We studied Darwin's understanding about or proposal about how evolution took place. So he observed many things, he visited many places, he collected many specimens. That's what we have gone through, isn't it? So one particular place he went, and that place was called as Galapagos Islands. When he went there, he happened to see a particular type of bird, finches. There were 18 different species of finches. And he thought that they are totally different species. But later on he understood that all of them have actually developed from one ancestor finch which was seed eating. And when they moved to different places, depending upon the conditions prevailing in Galapagos Islands, in the different parts of Galapagos Islands, and the food they started foraging or eating, depending upon that, their beak size, shape and all changed, and they looked so different. So from the original seed eating finch, many different types of finches developed, like vegetarian finch, the insectivorous finch, cactus eating finch, tree finch, to name a few. Okay? So the best evidence of adaptive radiation is that one, from the seed eating finch. This is the ancestor. From this is the ancestor, and from the seed eating finch, vegetarian finch, insectivorous, cactus eating, tree finch, so many different 18 species of finches were there. So this is a very good example of adaptive radiation. Very important question. What is adaptive radiation? And give examples. Okay, this is the first example. The second example that we are going to study is the adaptive radiation shown by the Australian marsupials. In Australia, the marsupials also showed adaptive radiation. What was it? Okay. The second example of adaptive radiation is Australian marsupials. Australian marsupials. Second example. From an ancestral, very small Australian marsupial, different types of marsupials developed and moved to different geographical area. So what are the examples of it? From the ancestral Australian marsupial, many different types of marsupials developed. They were Tasmanian wolf, banded anteater, tiger cat, marsupial mouse, kangaroo, wombat, bandicoot, koala bear, marsupial mole, sugar glider. So many different types evolved from the center. From one point, so many different types of marsupials evolved, and they originated and they started moving to different geographical areas. So this also serves as another very good example. Now in Australia, there was also adaptive radiation shown by placental mammals. Okay? The third one is Australian placental mammals. You can see that from the center, placental mammals, you find that wolf, anteater, bobcat, mouse, lemur, flying squirrel, mole. So these were developed. So this is another example. So both have taken place in the same geographical area. So listen to this very carefully. If in an area more than one adaptive radiation takes place, then it will lead to convergent evolution. It's important, okay? In an area, if more than one adaptive radiation will occur, it will lead to convergent evolution. Now look at this. Look at this. You can see Tasmanian wolf. Both show similar character, but they are totally different. So they have converged, they have evolved to one particular point. So in one particular geographical area, if more than one adaptive radiation, so in Australian place, you can see that in Australia you will find marsupial evolution, placental mammal evolution. Now when you look at Tasmanian wolf, okay, banded anteater, this is a marsupial, this is a placental mammal. Tiger cat, bobcat. Marsupial mouse. Okay. Then you will find spotted cuscus here, and that is lemur there. And you will find marsupial mole. Sugar glider, flying squirrel. So this is an example of convergent evolution. So all these we have studied now. I'll just mention what were the evidences we have studied. All these can be asked. Okay? So first evidence we studied paleontological evidences. You have to, when you write, when the question is asked what is paleontological evidence, first you have to tell what it is and then explain and come to the conclusion how it serves as evidence of evolution. Then studies from comparative anatomy and morphology. In that we studied homologous organs, analogous organs, and example of that. Then we studied about biochemical evidence, how it serves as evidence. Then the evidence from controlled breeding done by man. Then evidences from natural selection. And we also studied about adaptive radiation, which is nothing but biogeographical evidences. So from all these evidences, we conclude that evolution have taken place. Now we'll just see how biological evolution have taken place. So these are evidences. Now biological evolution, how it took place. Biological evolution. It started when unicellular organisms were formed. Biological evolution. It started when unicellular organisms with different metabolic capacities developed. First when we saw, isn't it, origin of life, there was, before cells were formed, this metabolic aggregation of organic compounds which had the ability to multiply. Then the first biological evolution started when single-celled organisms were formed. It did not form till 2000 million years after the formation of Earth we studied. So, biological evolution started when unicellular organisms with different metabolic capacities developed. Then they slowly evolved and they became multicellular organisms. Multicellular. What we have to understand in this context is that the space or the speed of evolution is not the same in every organism. Speed of evolution, pace of evolution is different in different organisms. Pace or speed of evolution of biological evolution is different. It is different in different organisms. ಇದು ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವ. ಓಕೆ, ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಟೇಕ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ a small organism, let us take a bacterium. Okay, you imagine bacteria. You imagine a culture medium. Okay, bacteria is growing in this. Let us take it as A, and you are providing one source of energy. Okay, let us imagine it is glucose or something like that which you are giving. You can see that they will be growing in a flourishing manner and their population would have increased. After some time, you change the source. So you can see that for some time there will not be growth. After that, again there will be a growth. Again you will find growth will be there. Again you will find. But this will be B. A will become B because the source is different. Different source of energy. So what has happened here? Within a very short time, because the organism is small, its multiplication is very fast. Within 20 minutes it multiplies. So what will happen is that in a very short time, A species gradually becomes evolved and becomes B. Because in the first condition, the source of energy was one particular source. So in that condition, whichever variant was there capable of utilizing that source, they were more. When a different source was given, there was a variant in that population which could utilize that new source of energy. They slowly started multiplying and increasing number. So here you can see that the pace is fast, isn't it? Evolution is fast because the organism is small and the lifespan is small. But if you look at, if the same thing has to happen, suppose you take into consideration a fish or a fowl, a bird, you know that its lifespan is more. So for its gradual evolution, it will take more time. If fish or fowl is taken, their lifespan is more. Their lifespan is more. So, pace of evolution slower. It takes more time for evolution, isn't it? So this is what we have to understand. In whichever variant nature feels that is suitable for that particular condition, will be capable of adapting, that will be selected by nature. Understood? That variation is actually determined by genetic makeup. Some genes is determining that character, that particular variation. Okay? And that is inherited. The adaptability, the ability to adapt in that condition. B is capable of adapting in this condition. That adaptability is selected by nature. Okay? So, adaptability is inherited and selected by nature. And according to Darwin, this is how biological evolution takes place. Adaptability will be inherited and selected by nature. Okay? Darwin proposed his theory on two key concepts, very important question. Name the two key concepts. Okay? Then the two key concepts that was proposed by Darwin, two key concepts, branching descent, and natural selection. These two are the two key concepts of Darwin. Two key concepts of Darwin is natural selection and branching descent. This is one more question. Okay? What are the two key concepts? Actually, before Darwin proposed this, a French naturalist was there by name Lamarck. He had proposed, Lamarck Lamarck also gave an idea about biological evolution. Lamarck's idea about biological evolution. According to Lamarck, his was use and disuse theory and inheritance of acquired character. Lamarck believed that continuously if you use any part of your body, that part will increase in size and it will become, and that character which you have developed is inherited. And the example he gave was giraffe neck. He believed that giraffe earlier was small, just like a dog, okay, a dog or a goat. But when it had competition, it started stretching its neck. So because of its continuous use, its neck and the forelimb got elongated, and that character was inherited. Continuous use will lead to the enlargement and that character will be inherited. He used the example of snakes for continuous disuse. He believed that snakes was also just like other reptiles which had limbs, but it was continuously not using the limbs, so it lost it. Okay? Now we see snakes without limbs. So this was his theory. He believed that continuous use or disuse will lead to either increase or loss of the part, and that character will be inherited. But this is not accepted now. Not accepted now. So we are studying about biological evolution, and according to Darwin, biological evolution is by natural selection. It started when unicellular organisms evolved with a different metabolic capacity. The pace of biological evolution is different in small organism, it is faster. In larger organism with longer lifespan, it is slower and it takes lot of time. Darwin believed in two very key concepts, important key concepts, branching descent and natural selection. That will lead to evolution. Even before Darwin proposed, Lamarck, a French naturalist, had given the idea of continuous use of any part of the body leading to the increase in size and continuous disuse leading to the loss of that body part and inheritance of acquired character. Okay.